Hey guys, I want y'all to do me a favor, and I want you to give me a huge round of applause, hoop and holler for David Pollack as he comes out.
Thank you, thank you. All right. Oh, thank you. Are we on? All right, good. They said they had me muted in the back, so that's a good thing.
Hey, he said he wanted to, he's got a couple of signed footballs right here that he wanted to throw and see if a defensive lineman could catch. Is that
Defensive
right?
lineman can't catch.
Uh-huh. So
We got to be careful who we throw this to.
Toss a couple of these out and see.
All right, see what you got.
Hey,
Okay.
hey.
You're a lineman though, aren't you?
I'm
Oh, you know
fumbling.
what? If I'd have seen his shirt, I would not have thrown that to him. Alabama. Let's see what we got right here in the white. Oh, there it is.
He caught it. He caught it.
We throw more?
We got a few more to throw out just for fun. Look at there.
There you go. I just let y'all fight that out.
Oh, fumble.
Throw it back. Throw it back.
All right, all right, all right.
Here, you.
Hey,
Here?
yeah, right there, right there. Hey, so if you didn't get one and you want one, you still got a chance. At the end, we'll take up your cards, and I'm going to pull a couple cards. We'll get a helmet or a football or something like that, okay? So, hey, thank you guys for being here tonight. David, thank you so much
for
being here at Night of Champions. We are excited. And I know I'm going to ask some questions, but I know y'all want to hear from David Pollack. And I just want to lead off by saying, David, I know that football is a huge passion in your life growing up. We know you're a great football player. What was it when you were younger? Like, when did that passion ignite? You know, how did that happen when you were growing up?
Well, you heard a little bit on the video, but I was 5, or no, I guess I was 4. My brother was 6, and he was playing tackle football. And I literally was 4 years old on the sideline because he was 2 years older than me. And I remember I was like, this is awesome. And I got in trouble because I started tackling everything on the sidelines. I was just like, oh, yeah, wrap them up. And then it got weird when I tackled a cheerleader and things got strange. But no, I mean, I just knew that, like, my aggression and my personality was, because I'm kind of like, I always want to go, go, go. And I knew football at a young age. I remember looking at my parents when I was 7 years old and go, I'm going to play in the NFL. And I remember that being a dream and a goal. And I think all of y'all are going to have these in life, that you're going to have those, hey, I want to do this, and you're going to have somebody go, yeah, that's cute. And you know what I tell everybody? Don't let anybody else tell you what you can and can't do. That's bogus. You want to dream bad enough, man, you work for it, and you work hard, you put your head down, and you believe you can do it. God can do amazing things. He can do more than we can ever fathom. And so don't let people define what your dreams are and what your goals should be. Just work your tail off and try to make it happen. So I knew at a young age it was something that I wanted to be a big part of my life.
Awesome. So everybody knows, 3-time All-American. That's a big, big deal. That doesn't happen a whole lot. And you played defensive end at Georgia. What was it about the University of Georgia? Why'd you want to go to Georgia? I mean, I graduated from Georgia. I love Georgia. I grew up pulling for Georgia. We got maybe a few Georgia fans in the house. But did you, yeah, but did you grow up a Georgia fan?
Well, I wanted to address the roll turds first. Roll tide. My bad. I said that wrong. That's my bad. Freudian slip. No, a girl is the reason I was a Georgia fan.
Oh,
that's
wow.
why. My girlfriend, when I was in high school, that's now my wife, it was about being close to home for me. I grew up an NFL fan. I mean, I remember me and my dad was from New York, and we would watch the Giants, and we watched a lot of NFL, so I wanted to be close to home. And then I went and saw Georgia, and I was like, okay, this is different. And the uniforms are sweet, and everything about, and Coach Rick coming in was my kind of guy. So when he was at Georgia and when he was just first starting to come in. So I didn't always grow up a Georgia fan, but I definitely now, obviously, over the years, you've become accustomed to the diehard Georgia fans in the state of Georgia.
All right, so everybody wants to know. You played at Georgia. You played in a lot of places. Of course, you played in Athens at Sanford
LSU.
Stadium. That's the hardest place to play?
You're going to ask me the toughest place to play?
Yes, the toughest place in the SEC to play football.
LSU. It ain't close.
Really?
LSU at night is stupid. It is absolutely stupid. I mean, first of all, you get on the bus to drive to the stadium, right? So you have team buses, 1, 2, 3, 4 team buses, and you're driving. And I swear to you, a 70-year-old lady flipped us off, like mooned us. I mean, we're stopped and they're shaking the buses. And I'll never forget, man, we came out, we always come on the field before warm-ups, like 2 hours before the game. And you walk the field and you kind of get a feel for the field. Y'all see the cameras in there now, and you start walking through without uniform on. And I'll never forget, the whole student section was packed, and they were chanting cheers. They're not cheers I could repeat in church. I mean, it was nuts. It was it was lit environment. It was insane. And I remember we scored and we kicked it through the goals, and they threw it up to the top and then threw it out of the stadium, threw our ball out of the stadium, which was super cool too. But it was awesome to have the loudest stadium ever really quiet too. Like that's fun. It is fun it is so much fun to go on the road and shut a lot of people up. And y'all do that, and I know some of y'all players do that in high school. I mean, I just love the booze and the going against people and having to shut people up. That environment is unbelievable.
All right, so what do you think, in your time at Georgia, what do you think was the best game that you played, the best game your team played while you were at Georgia?
Well, to finally win the SEC championship for the first time in 20 years at Georgia in 2002 was the pinnacle. I mean, we'd been so long since we had won one, and it was annoying to hear about and to listen to people talk about. So getting to do that was enjoyable. And then the South Carolina game my sophomore year changed my life. That's the play. Well, first of all, one thing for y'all to all realize, like, I came into Georgia, like, it's cool to see the videos, and it's cool to hear 3-time All-American, a first-round draft pick. I was a 2-star kid coming out of high school. I wasn't a highly recruited kid. So it wasn't like I came in and all of a sudden, I played 3 positions in 1 year at Georgia. I came in as a fullback. I played defensive tackle my freshman year as a defensive tackle, and then I moved to defensive end in the spring of my freshman year. So it wasn't like I just all of a sudden fell into it and all of a sudden started making plays and started killing people right away. I mean, it was finding out what spot was best for me. And y'all football players, y'all don't know what spot's best for y'all. I mean, you're going to figure that your coaches are going to put you in a spot, and then it might change, it might morph, but if you compete really hard and you fight really hard, and the good things are going to happen regardless. So I found a spot at defensive end and ended up playing well. But South Carolina, my second game of my sophomore year I go from not starting to not being talked about anything to all of a sudden you're on Sports Center, and all of a sudden I'm up for an ESPY at the end of the year. And
that play. We saw it in the video a minute ago.
It was nuts. But first of all, did y'all see that play? It was the luckiest crap ever. I mean, I couldn't do that again if I tried. Like, to be clear, I was coming in to try to hit the quarterback's arm, and knock the ball down, and it just came down his back, and I was like, oh, cool, sweet, touchdown. And they didn't have instant replay back then, so thank God the ref was in the right spot to make the right call. But that was a defensive struggle, by the way. It was a 13-6 game. It was awful. It wasn't impressive.
So it was your touchdown that put us over the top.
I mean, yeah, it was a multitude of things, but yeah. But that play forever changed like my direction, because after that play, it was different.
Gotcha. So, what was the biggest rivalry when you were at Georgia, and how's that changed? What do you think the biggest rivalry for the Dogs is now?
It was Florida. I mean, we can talk about Georgia Tech, and we could talk about all the other ones, but the Florida game was always, and you know how you can tell, like, y'all have all been in locker rooms, and coaches, this is something for y'all to think about. Florida week, literally, coaches were puckered up pretty tight. Like, it was different. Like, they were on edge all the time, and you could so tell. And I don't think it helped our team when the coaches were on edge. That doesn't help. But it's one of the coolest things ever. See, I go across all these stadiums across all the country, and, you know, when you're on defense, it's awesome because the crowd gets really loud when you're in Sanford Stadium. Well, you know, it's crazy because half of it's black and red and half of it's blue and orange, and it's always loud. And it's just a scene, you know, Oklahoma, Texas is the same way. It's a unique scene to college football that it's just really, really cool. And Florida obviously has always been pretty good, and I think they're starting to get better again. But Georgia, Florida was always Spurrier popping off at his mouth, and
he would do that.
Yeah, he had a few things to say. So that was always the big, and I think it is like the SEC East. If you think about that moving forward, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be Florida that's going to decide the SEC East. But I think Georgia, Alabama is starting to become pretty annoying too. I mean, that's starting to be a full-fledged for all the marbles, not only for a national title, but last year maybe you get in if you're Georgia and Alabama doesn't. Who knows?
Right, right. And as a Georgia fan, Bama, Hurts isn't beating you, so they put Tagovailoa in. He beat you a couple years ago. Tagovailoa's not beating you, so they put Hurts in, and he beats you. So as a Georgia fan, that hurts a little bit. We'd love to see Bama
Second
again.
26 hurts.
Yeah, that hurts a lot.
Yeah.
I was there. That was painful.
I was there too, and it wasn't good.
But for those that are Bama fans, we don't need to talk about that
Roll turd.
anymore. So, but now, what do you think? And this is as a Georgia fan. A lot of people around the country say we're a top-tier team. Mm-hmm. Other people say you're not a top-tier team until you win the big game. You can't say that you're a top-tier football program until you're really up there with Clemson and Alabama, the national title. Oh. And so what do you think it takes? Are we a top-tier team? What do you think it takes to get to the next level?
Well, first of all, to be a top-tier team, you have to have dudes. And if you go to a Georgia practice now, you see a bunch of adults. I mean, it's like the offensive line walks by and you go, Lord have mercy. I mean, Ben Cleveland's, 6'8", 340, benches 550 pounds, and you're like, who's that guy? Isaiah, oh God, he's 6'9", coming in at 380. And it's another level. But Georgia's back, and Georgia's in a spot where they're going to get a national title. It's just a matter of when. I think this year is a really good opportunity. Obviously, Clemson's going to be good. Alabama's going to be good. When you look at offensive and defensively as a complete team, I think Georgia's the best right now. I think Georgia's going to have a pass rush for the first time in a long time. They got some guys with, Anderson and Johnson, and they got some dudes that can get after the quarterback. And so I think they're a legit team, and winning the big one when you're second 26 in overtime and you had a chance to do it. Now listen, they got to prove it against Alabama. Like you got to finish. At some point you will get out to a lead and not finish, and you're going to be the team that can't get it done. Right. And every Georgia fan should be really happy because you go into the season now knowing 100% you're relevant. You're going to be in the hunt. Like Georgia's going to be they're going to be sitting there with a chance to be in the playoff every year. And that's all you can ask for, because the only other two teams you can say that about right now is Clemson and Alabama, with Ohio State being that team now with a coaching change that maybe it's the same way. So it's definitely the best of times. If you're a Georgia fan, the last 2 years and moving forward the next 8 is going to be probably the best decade in Georgia football.
Gotcha. Wow.
That's pretty positive.
Looking forward to that. So now you're on College Game Day, you travel with ESPN, you go to a bunch of different places, and so everybody knows you played at Georgia, right? So if you pick Georgia, you're a homer. Mm-hmm. If you don't pick Georgia, you're
a hater. Yeah.
So does that even bother you? Do you care what people think about that?
I don't care what anybody thinks.
Okay.
It's one of my blessings and my curses.
Okay, so you're going to pick, it's not because you went to Georgia, you're picking Georgia, or, you're going to pick who.
So if you're going to be a homer or you're going to be a hater, I want to be right.
Right, okay.
So I want to be the right homer or a right hater.
Yeah, so what's it like with Corso and Herb Street, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, all those guys on the ESPN College Game Day set? Is it as fun as it looks?
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it's so much fun just watching College Game Day.
We're getting paid for that. And if you look up Kirk's salary, he's getting paid really well. We're taking the leftovers, but hey, we'll take it. We're talking college football. We get to go to the coolest campuses in the country and see practices and see some of the best players in the country. And I take my son with me every other weekend. I take my daughter with me 3 or 4 times a year. And so it's a dream job. Now, also, I want y'all to realize, too, again, that's one of those things where you see Georgia and you see 3-time All-American. My first gig on TV, so I go from being the 17th pick in the NFL, and y'all know they make a lot of money in the NFL, and it's a really good living. I go now to being a person that's on-air talent. I made $1,000 a month my first year on TV. 1,000. So some of y'all aren't math majors. That's $12,000 a year.
It's not very good.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not good at all. And I think it would have been very easy to be like, oh man, I'm not making money, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I was just like, all right, I'm a freshman in high school. And I'm a freshman in college. I need to put my head down and just grind. And you do all kinds of stupid stuff, like start working on talking and speaking, because y'all know, all y'all that play defensive linemen, we're not the smartest. It's just fact. Y'all can spin it however you want. We ain't the brightest. And so we had to work on all this stuff, and being more, learning to take cues and learning when the camera's looking at you and when it's not looking at you, and all this stuff, it can be overwhelming, but it's just like anything else. You got to put your head down, you got to grind, and then I'll never forget, I told you all about that pat the head moment when I said I wanted to play in the NFL. I sat down with an agent for the first time, and they was like, what do you want to do in TV? I go, I want to be on College Game Day. He was like, that's awesome, dude. That's the best show in college on ESPN, and makes, those guys are the best of the best. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And he's like, okay, well, it's going to take a while. I'm like, sweet. And I just went to work, and I grinded, and that was my goal, and shoot, now I'm here. And so it's kind of surreal. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of a dream, literally a dream come true, something I thought about and I dreamed about.
So you get to go to literally game day's at the biggest game every weekend. And so you've been to some really neat places, right? Not just in the SEC, but across the country.
Yeah.
What are some of the really, this is one of the coolest places. You've been to South Bend, you've been to, Ohio State, you've been to some of the biggest and the best. So what the best atmosphere, the coolest places that you've been for College Game Day?
It's definitely the smaller schools.
Really?
It's the North Dakota States, the James Madisons, and like when you go to Alabama, it's like, hey, you're supposed to be here. Yeah. When you go to North Dakota State, I promise you, first of all, they opened the streets. It was literally the downtown area was all one big parade. It was nuts. And every single person is like, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. You're like, whoa, I'm just paid to be here. Like, I'm supposed to come. And they're just jacked out of their mind. So those are the ones, it's just different. Eugene, like in Oregon, remember, the show starts at 6, so we're there at 4:30. It's pitch black, and all these kids are literally coming from wherever they were at, literally to the set. So it's always a surreal scene when you're out west, and it's starting before the sun even thinks about coming up. But those smaller schools are just special. It's just really cool, and they don't know you're ever going to get it again. Like, it's a one-time dream thing that they think you're never going to come back, and it's by far the coolest scenes.
That's awesome, man. I did not expect that.
Yeah, what'd you expect?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say some of the biggest and the best, whether it's Oklahoma or South Bend, Notre Dame, those kind of places. No, that's really awesome.
Not even close.
Yeah, man, that's great. That's awesome. Okay, so let's talk about college football, the system. Okay, so we finally are in a playoff.
Yeah,
everybody's begging for a playoff, right? For years, tired of the BCS. We want a playoff, so we got a playoff, and now everybody's complaining about the playoff, right? So number one, will college fans ever be happy with what we have?
No.
And number two, what do you think about the college playoff system? Do we need to go from 4 to 8? If we go to 8, are they going to want to go to 16? Are they going to just do what Division II does? What do you think about the playoff system?
I love the system. I love having more people, but I also love the regular season being super important. Georgia's a good example last year. You had a bad game against LSU. Besides that, your season was sensational, but sorry, you don't get to go.
Yeah.
And that's, I like the idea of it being the best team and you earning everything throughout the season and not being everybody's invited and let's figure out who's the best. So I think it will expand, first of all, because money talks. These people the college football playoff committee is making billions. It's just NCAA's printing money. So more games equal more money. More television, ESPN equals more money. And so it's definitely going to expand at some point, I think, to 8. But how cool is it not to have a BCS where it's just 2 teams at the end? Now we get at least, 2 good games, 3 games at the end of the season. And you wouldn't have had the Alabama-Clemson trilogies.
Right.
That wouldn't even have happened because, you think about the way the old BCS system, you would have had different matchups.
Interesting. So, what are your predictions for the upcoming season? SEC, best teams in the country, playoff system. What do you think? What do you expect that this, 2019 into 2020?
Well, there's 3 that, talent-wise, are just superior to everybody else, and that's Clemson, Bama, and Georgia. And when you look at those guys, just you go look at offensive lines and defensive lines at those 3 schools, it looks different than everywhere else. Oklahoma, obviously, offensively is always fun, and defensively, you look at their guys in the D-line, and there's nothing that's going to blow you away. But Clemson obviously loses a ton, but Trevor Lawrence, Tua, And then you got, obviously, right down the road with Fromm. Those are quarterbacks that are great, that are experienced, that have a lot of weapons around them, and teams that are the most talented teams. So those three are locked to me. I mean, and I think people are going to go, wait a minute, Georgia and Bama are going to play each other. How are they going to get? I think they're still going to get in. And now we start talking about the others: Ohio State, Michigan. The thing about Ohio State will be very interesting with Ryan Day, new coach. Urban Meyer's gone. How does they react? Harbaugh and Michigan have been disappointing, to say the least, the last several years. I mean, just shockingly disappointing of how much talent that they've improved to not improve and get to the college football. Not to win. They haven't finished better than third in the Big Ten in their side yet. So, I mean, that's...
How does Notre Dame keep getting in and then keep getting killed?
Okay, Alabama got killed.
Yeah.
So should Alabama have not been in?
No, I'm not saying Notre Dame didn't. I mean, they did what they needed to do.
They went undefeated.
In the regular season.
They went undefeated against a really good schedule. Now, this year they play Georgia week 4. So that's an awesome test that we'll get to see more from. But you get 4 teams, and if you go undefeated in a Power 5 schedule, and they schedule tough. They don't have FCS cupcakes on their schedule. They're always going to play FBS teams. It's not as competitive as some elsewhere, but if they go undefeated, they'll be in the mix again every year, just like any team from any big. If you're Oregon in the Pac-12, even the amount of respect that's been lost for Oregon, if they go undefeated, they'll still be in the playoff.
Right.
I mean, so I think any team
Power 5,
it goes undefeated, unless you have a bunch of undefeateds, but that's not going to happen. I mean, it's just there's so much parity in college football that won't happen. But if you go undefeated, I think you'll get in. Oregon goes undefeated, they'll get in. Oklahoma, Texas, but Oklahoma, Texas are teams to keep an eye out for. Oregon should be a team to keep an eye out for this year now with Justin Herbert coming back, a big old physical offensive line that they haven't had in a while. Defense skill, they've always had skill, but now I think their offensive and defensive lines are starting to get better.
All right, so you mentioned 3 quarterbacks a minute ago.
Yeah.
On 3 teams. You mentioned Tagovailoa at Alabama.
Yep.
Lawrence at Clemson and Fromm at Georgia. And the debate now is, everybody thinks they're all going to go early, and everybody thinks they'll all be in the same class.
Well, Lawrence can't come out
yet. That's right. He's
the most talented. He would be picked number 1. He would have picked number 1 as a freshman.
So
he would have been the first pick overall as a true freshman coming out of high school last year.
That's right. He's a year behind Fromm and Tagovailoa. Mm-hmm. And so you think, based on your answer, I was going to ask you, which one of these guys is the most NFL ready right now?
Lawrence.
The younger guy.
Lawrence.
Sunshine.
Have y'all seen Sunshine throw a football? Like, first of all, there's people that Matthew Stafford was one of those kids. There's people that when we go to practice and you watch him, you're just like, good God. Like he throws an 18-yard comeback and it's just hits that exit sign in about 0.5 seconds. You're like, how the heck did he do that crap? I mean, the dude can spin it. I mean, he can spin it, and he's a 4'6" athlete. I mean, he's more athletic than you think. He's a big kid. Yeah. And so he's number 1. Tua's number 2, because Tua is a left-handed Russell Wilson that's not as big. Like he is, if you watch and you really understand football, he can throw 3 seconds before a guy's open, for God's sakes. I mean, he literally can, 3 steps before a guy goes out of his break, he'll throw it, and it's just like, oh my gosh. And Fromm's the least talented of the group, of those 3. Listen, those 3, you're putting them in company of greatness. But Fromm is the best. Fromm gives you everything he's got from a leadership standpoint. But if you go watch Fromm throw a football, you're going to be like, yeah, that's not the guy I want. Mm-hmm. Like when you watch Eason and Fromm throw a football, Eason can throw it just like Lawrence. He can spin it. He's just one of those guys that can throw it different. But it would be that order. It would be Lawrence to Fromm.
So this is Fromm country. I mean, Houston County.
This is where he's from.
This is where he's from. So you got guys out there that coached him, that know him, and maybe some guys that watched him play around here. I can remember watching him as a sophomore at Houston County, just thinking, good gracious, this guy, I mean, he's a great football player. So what do you think it was about Jake Fromm that, ran off Jacob Eason, ran off Justin Fields? Like, everybody thought Eason was the guy, and then nope, Fromm's the guy, and everybody thought, well, Fields is coming in, and he's gonna take this thing, and here you go, man. Fields gets to play,
not much
every once in a while, when we're up by 30. So, what do you think it is about Fromm?
It's the leadership. It's the he's just a guy that you believe in, and he's another guy that he makes the right decisions at the right time, and it's not the hose. It's not the I can just throw it through a wall. It's just he's very smart. He's very competitive. He's got a great competitive spirit. Like, just the coaches tell you, like, when he came on campus as a true freshman, first thing he does is get all the wide receivers' numbers so he can go do 7-on-7 and go do, I mean, that's just not normal. You know, most freshmen are like, where do I fit in? And he just comes in with a quiet confidence, and he's got every intangible that you could ever want. He's just not the most overly talented kid. I'm not saying he's a bum. Don't get me wrong. Like, he isn't me and y'all. I mean, he's not us throwing a football, but because he can still spin it, but he just doesn't have that rare ability to throw it as hard as you want. But he has the touch, he has the smarts, he has the grit. He's got enough mobility to run the football. You've seen it in spurts, but not a lot. But in
so
spurts.
That's an elite group. Those three we talked about. That's
Yeah.
an elite group. Do you think Fromm has NFL first-round draft, NFL level talent?
I don't.
You don't see it.
I don't think he will be.
You don't think he'll be in the first round at all?
There's some mocks that put him as the number 1 pick in a top 10
is it
pick.
McShay or
Kuiper or
one of those guys?
Kuiper was my friend coming out when I was coming out of college. Kuiper said I had too short arms to play football. Yeah. You never forget those things, by the way.
Apparently not.
People hating on you is a good thing, by the way. People always hate on you. You put that little chip on your shoulder, but I don't see it. I think he's awesome, but again, I think you have to have a little bit more God-given ability in the arm to, but I think he'll be a first-round pick because that's what you do with quarterback. You know who he reminds me of, and this is not an insult, but he's an Aaron Murray type kid. I mean, he's a great leader, and he's going to give you everything he can, and he'll take shots, and he'll do what he needs to do, but he's just not a next-level arm guy, which, again, it sounds like we're insulting him, but he's still better than 99% of people in the world.
You played with David Green?
I did.
So would you compare Fromm and Green?
David wasn't as talented as Fromm. Fromm's more talented than David Green.
Gotcha. Does anybody here know who David Green is? Okay, all right, good. So
all the old people said amen.
I didn't want to get deep in the weeds for these guys. But
Yeah.
That's so
Younger folks don't know who David Green is.
No.
When he graduated with me at Georgia, he was the winningest quarterback in college football history.
Yeah, he was awesome. He was incredible.
Until they changed the number of games.
All right, we're going to shift. Let's talk about something a little bit more important than football.
All right.
Now, the things that you do today, you mentioned earlier that one of your favorite things to do right now is you are a coach.
Yeah.
You're coaching your kids, right? You're coaching a 12-unit team. You talk about that real quick.
Well, I coached my baby girl in basketball and softball, and then I coached my son in football, and it's flipping awesome. It's awesome.
Here really,
yeah,
really
see? We didn't leave the girls out. My baby girl's a savage. I mean, she's an animal. She's not like my son. My son, if he was here, I would tell you he was a sissy. No, dude, it's so awesome, man. It's just so awesome to pour into the kids and watch them learn how to compete because, I mean, y'all don't realize it yet. A lot of you players don't realize it yet, but, I mean, football teaches you more about yourself and about life than so many things. And it's probably the most important teacher of learning how to fail, learning how to get your butt kicked and get back up and keep fighting and learning how to develop a craft, learn how to lose. Losing sucks, but you gotta learn how to deal with it. And sports does that for you. Sports teaches you how to lose and it teaches you need to work a little harder if you really want to be great and you want to reach that next level. So it's so much fun to coach the kids in all those sports.
So as a husband and a father, like what is it that you, I know you love coaching your kids, but what is it you love doing with your wife and with your kids, with your family? What is it that you enjoy and what is it that you're trying to teach? Like if your kids know one thing about my dad, you know, what is it that you're trying to impart to them?
I think that he just shows up every day. You know, I think y'all will learn as you get older, and some of you already learned, like parenting's the hardest thing in the world and also the most rewarding. Because y'all are looking at like some of your teammates and some of your classmates, and y'all can see so much of the annoying qualities, and you're like, God, that's annoying. God, I don't like that. I hate that. And then when you have a kid and they do the same thing, you're like, that's me. He's my son. He does that annoying stuff because he learned it from me. He does that annoying. She does that because she learned it from me. So it's just a constant. But I just love being with them. I love playing any kind of sport, man. Any football, basketball, baseball, softball. It doesn't matter. We just play and we have great conversations. And because of that, we have great conversations. I mean, my son is some of y'all in here are like this. Some of y'all are going to be you need to know all the rules. He needs. All right, Dad, we're playing basketball. How many players? It doesn't matter. Like, just go play. No, where's the out of bounds? I'm like, bro, just go play. Let it rip. And So being able to talk to him and be like, hey, listen, in life, sometimes it's gonna be strange. Wait till you meet middle schoolers and high schoolers. Like some that stuff gets strange, but you gotta give me your best, and you gotta work hard, and you gotta plug into this, and just having those conversations about that and themselves, and that's the rewarding part, and that's the part y'all will have fun when you have kids.
All right, we got a lot of athletes here, and you got some athletes that have a lot of attention on them already. You know, they're D1 prospects or getting calls from SEC schools. I mean, there are guys like that right here, right now.
Yeah.
Warner Robins, Houston County, this area, the high schools here have sent a lot of talent off to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And not just football talent, but baseball and, I mean, soccer, everything. And so there's a lot of media attention now, too. Like the whole recruiting thing is, I mean, you're looking at kids that are, 14, 15 years old, already starting to try to put stars on them and all this kind of stuff. And, getting recruited, they're recruiting class of 2022 and 2023 and all this. And so and
Lane Kiffin offered like a 9-year-old a couple years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's and so you got guys that are just trying to go to class and go to school and not make dumb decisions.
No.
And all the pressure that's on them now. What advice are you going to give to the athletes out here with all that scrutiny and all that pressure now to make the right decisions, not to do the dumb things that trip kids up, trip players up? What could you tell the athletes out here that are looking at some of the stuff like you went through years ago?
Well, I mean, first of all, the ones that are highly recruited, you're not alone. I mean, those letters you're getting and those offers, they're sent all over the country. And what's going to separate you from them? And what's going to be different about you that a coach is going to, because that can change tomorrow. I mean, that can be gone in a blink of an eye. I mean, those letters can disappear and they'll stop sending them. And if you're not somebody that's dependable, if you're not somebody that they know is working hard. I mean, here's the thing. I go around to all these places in the country, and I watch tape on all these college kids. And I watch tape on a lot of high school kids when we start doing our recruiting shows. And I can tell what kind of person you are by turning your tape on. Like legit, I can tell that guy's tough as nails. That guy, you got to stab him to kill him. I mean, there are some guys that you can tell will turn down hits. Like what you put on tape, what you put on Instagram, what you put on Facebook. No, y'all don't do Facebook. I don't do Facebook either. What you put on all the social media, all that stuff. Like Josh Allen, do y'all remember him 2 drafts ago for the Bills? Dude gets drafted in the first round. First thing they pull up is his Twitter that he commented on somebody like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and made a comment. And it literally came back to bite you. This stuff doesn't just disappear into thin air. You think what you say now won't affect you? It does. Like, here's something that used to drive me crazy. How many of you have they told you your mom has told you are what you hang with? Has your mama told you that? You hang out with idiots, you're gonna be an idiot? How about that? Have they said that? You hang out with good kids, you're gonna be a good kid? Like, that's the biggest advice I would give for anything, is hang out with people that you wanna be like. When you're around people that, I used to be around people in my life that made things difficult. In high school, you're gonna have plenty of this. People that always wanted to be negative and always take the drama avenue. And did you hear what so-and-so did? Always stirring up crap. Like, that's the people that you can tell it's a waste of time. You want to be around people that want to get better, that want to be like breathe life into people, that want to, people that have that energy that you're just like, oh, dude, he's got something different. That's what you want to be. Like that's what moms are looking for. That's what your wives are going to look for. Your husbands are going to look for later on. Like it's not going to be what you did on the football field. Like and I know some of y'all are going to roll your eyes and y'all are going to play video games, and that's fine. I love video games. I mean, is Fortnite still big with y'all, or do y'all still play Fortnite, or is it Apex? What are we on to now? 2K? Okay. Whatever. Hey, whatever that stuff is that you're into, like Minecraft? People play that? My son did that when he was like 5. I didn't know people did that when they got older. Y'all still playing Minecraft? I lost my train of thought. I don't know where I was at, but
You're talking about these guys playing video games and all that stuff.
Hey, but for real, again, it goes back to if you want to do something, if you want to do something special with your life, it's going to take special commitments. And you choose whether you want to do that. Ain't nobody else going to make you do it. Like when I was growing up, I couldn't text and drive. You couldn't do it. Or you could text and drive, excuse me. You could do that and not get in trouble. Now it's illegal. I told my kids, I'm like, listen, this is what accountability is. Accountability is somebody coming beside you and helping you. And when you mess up, telling you. I tell my kids, if I touch my phone, tell me. As soon as I touch my phone, Daddy, stop touching your phone. Like, I would find people in my life like that. I would find people that want me to succeed. Coaches are going to pour into you. Coaches are going to love on you. Coaches are going to get on you. Oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world. They're going to get on you. And guess what? When they stop getting on you, there's the real problem. Because now they don't believe you can do it. If they're getting on you, they know there's something inside of you can do. I had a coach in my sophomore year, and I'll end it with this, for that question. I had a coach in my sophomore year of high school. I quit football after my sophomore year of high school. Quit. None of this, all this stuff we talked about and all these plays, first round draft pick, game day, none of that would have ever happened. And I had a coach named Eddie Shaddix. None of y'all know who he is. He brought me into the weight room. He said, hey man, just come work out with me. Let's just go get strong. Let's just lift some weights. And just loved on me and believed in me. And I started to listen to him. And then all of a sudden, he's like, hey, maybe we should give football a try. And I tried it again. And then it worked out really well. Like, listen to your coaches. Don't be afraid to work hard. Don't be afraid to be different. Are you really missing out on something if you don't go to a certain part? What you're going to realize is all those likes y'all care about and those views you care about, they really just don't matter. I mean, look at some of these guys now that are making all these plays and doing big-time things. A lot of them, two-star kids that weren't highly recruited, all of a sudden come out of nowhere, and you're like, where did that guy come from? Oh, recruiting services didn't have him? He's still making his goals come true. You're gonna have to give up something if you want to be great. It's just truth.
That's great, man. Hey, here we are tonight. We're at a church and talking to kids about football, about family, but I want to talk about faith. You didn't grow up in church.
Nope.
You didn't grow up. Your parents didn't take you to church every day or every Sunday or whatever.
We never went one time as a family.
Never went as a family growing up.
When I was growing up until my senior year of high school, we never went one time as a family.
Wow. And so tell me then, like, God's done something incredible in your life, and here you are tonight at Second Baptist Church in Warner Robins, and the most important thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about your faith. I want to talk about what God did in your life. I mean, you didn't grow up learning about God or being in church, but talk to me about the journey that God kind of brought you on for you to place your faith in Christ.
Well, I'll never forget it because I was just like you guys, and I was living and life was fine. And then I remember I had a teacher. His name was Mark Watson. He was a biology teacher, and I hated biology just like some of y'all hate science. I mean, hate class period. And I didn't like it that much, and it wasn't my thing. And I used to have a very good gift of getting underneath my teacher's skins, and some of y'all probably have that gift too. And would get in trouble and would be annoying. And I'll never forget, Mark Watson was just different. This dude had like the Jesus, I called him a Jesus freak. He had the sticker, and I was like, this dude's different, man. And then listen to praise and worship music. And I couldn't tick him off. And it kind of bothered me. And so I went to him and I was like, hey man, tell me about your Bible. Tell me about your God. Tell me about your stuff. And he started talking to me about it, and I was just like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Never heard it before. This is going into my senior year of high school. Never heard about God. And I was like, well, okay. So for outside reading, I chose the Bible for my 200 pages. And he was like, start with the Gospels. And I was like, what's that? He was like, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so I started to read. I started to read about Jesus. And I was like, oh my God, like really? Because, I mean, if you just go back, imagine, so many years ago, just if right now, and say we're saying 2,000 years from now, something's going to happen. Something crazy is going to happen. And there's going to be this man that walks the earth, and he's going to be perfect and all this stuff. He's going to literally be able to heal people and do all this crazy stuff. Nobody wanted this to happen. Like, everybody wanted to shut it up. And everybody wanted to be like, no, that's not true. And it still happened. And it's still written. And people wanted to get rid of the Bible, and it's still here. It's still around. It's still the most credible document we've ever had. And we've found all kinds of different copies all throughout the world that are exactly the same that tells us about Jesus. And I read about Jesus and what he did and his love for me, and I was like, man, this is nuts. And it literally just jumped off the page that this person would do this for me and would sacrifice his life. And listen, guys, girls, you're not gonna understand the whole Bible. I promise you. I mean, there's a lot of it that's super confusing. But if you're gonna read something, read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and just make your own opinion yourself about literally this guy that was proclaimed 2,000 or so many years before, and what was gonna happen, and it still happened. And so I was blown away, and immediately I started to ask myself, and I remember I was in my bedroom, and I asked God to come into my heart, and I started going to church. And the biggest moment of my life was the next year I was training for, or a couple years later, I was training for combines, and led my mom to Christ over the phone. I was training in Sarasota, Florida, or Bradenton in Florida, and I never had faith, and I never knew what God looked like. And the moment I started trusting Him, my life didn't get perfect. It didn't all of a sudden get perfect. I still got problems. Y'all still gonna have problems, but I just couldn't believe that somebody would lay down his life and sacrifice his life for me, and that's what just blew me away and grabbed a hold of my heart, and it never went back. It was amazing.
All started with a science teacher.
Yeah.
Man, how about that? That's great. So tonight, we're almost done. If you could share one final thing with the coaches, with the players, with everybody here tonight, what is it that you want to leave them with? I mean, we've talked a lot about football. I could talk about football all night. We've talked a lot about family, but faith is the biggest thing we want to talk about tonight. That's the most important thing. And so what is it that you'd want to leave with these players, these coaches, and these folks here?
Make goals. Like that sounds so stupid, but make short-term goals in your life. That resonates with me the most. I have a journal. I brought it with me in the car because I had a 2-hour drive down here to come see you guys. And literally, I write down every Sunday, I write down 4 things I want to accomplish. And I know that sounds very small, but it's those small little things that really take you from being really, really good to being great long-term. We all have big, huge aspirations. I want to play in the NFL. That was a big aspiration of mine. That was a huge aspiration of mine. How am I going to get there? Like, I gotta lift weights. I gotta do X. I gotta do Y. Make your small goals. Some of y'all need to get in better shape so you can run more and you can be more effective. Some of y'all need to get stronger. Like, that stuff's not gonna happen overnight. If you want to be stronger in your faith and you want to be a better person, it's gonna take reading your Bible. There are so many things you can follow now on social media that so many apps and so many things that can help you learn your Bible and go through your Bible and learn devotionals and learn about all the testimonies of guys that are in the spot you want to be in the future and what they've done to accomplish those things. But to me, it's small goals. It's small walks. Like, to me, this week I'm going to do, John Piper does devotionals, and he does them on Twitter. I think they're really cool, where he circles stuff and really draws attention to certain words in the Bible. And I've never read the Bible like that, and it's really cool. So I wanted to do a devotion from him every day this week, and that was one of my goals. It's summertime, so I've gained a little bit of weight from traveling too much. No carbs this week, like none. And I love going through at the end of the week, and I love checking those boxes and being like, I finished it, dude. And whether that's a relationship you have, whether that's reading your Bible and getting better, whether it's getting in the weight room. Like, my goal this week was to work out a different body part every day of the week. Like, I'm 3 for 3, but it's something that you have to choose to do. You have to make those little goals, and all of a sudden you'll look up literally a month down the road and you'll be, I killed this for a month, and then I killed this, and then what else can I work on? We're not perfect, and I'm not perfect, but if you guys make those little tiny changes, it'll make a huge difference in your life.
Awesome. Hey, would you guys let David Pollack know how grateful you are that he was here with us tonight?
Thank y'all for having me.